everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Jungle. Just finished watching it, and my Amazon Prime free trial is now up, and my income level is poverty, and I'm going to be bleeding out very shortly. And so I'm begging for an opportunity, begging for some sort of chance or an opportunity just to do anything. I will do anything, I will go anywhere, I'll do anything for $40,000, anything, literally anything. But again, my life has just been absolutely destroyed. Every day, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, I get denigrated or disrespected to a profound and extensive level. My credentials are being ruined. My property is being stolen. I would be a touring musician. I would be a touring lecturer. I would be a department chair. I would be 15 different careers sitting on the internet, and I can't get anything going because of crime. And then just blame the victim. So we'll get through another movie review today. But I'm going to stop doing YouTube pretty soon. Not like I ever got going. I'll give you how we do it. I will give you my overall impressions and grade. And seriously, once I can comfortably make $3,000 a month, I am off the map. I'm going to go live as a recluse. I'm sick and tired of this disgusting fucking species. I'll give you my overall impressions and grade. Then after that, if you've not seen the movie would like to, based on the recommendation or not recommendation, we're going to shut off the video because there will be spoiler alerts. We'll discuss the plot, synopsis, and character development, and any similar movies or major themes that come to mind. So Jungle was released in 2017, rated R. It's an action or adventure / drama, a runtime of an hour and 55 minutes. It says, a mysterious guide escorts an enthusiastic adventurer and his friend into the Amazon jungle. Their journey turns into a terrifying ordeal as the darkest elements of human nature and the deadliest threats of the wild force them to fight for survival. Again, I watched it on Hulu. Google says why to watch an inspiring and thrilling true story about a man's survival against all odds in the Amazon rainforest. 75% liked it on Google. Only did 1.9 million at the box office. 4.3 out of 5 on Amazon, 61% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.7, round that up to 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb. So overall, I enjoyed it. Again, just the genre, I enjoy that. Again, action adventures, not like I said, I really like the apocalypse or just kind of like sci-fi, just, some interesting aspect to the writing. Survival stories, again, this is based off a true story, so always like the history elements. I thought the action adventure was good. Thought the cinematography was well produced in terms of, grit, backing tracks, lighting. In this one, even though this one's in the jungle, this probably has like 50% less low light scenes and, I don't know, some movie about the beach on a sunny day. So seriously, in a lot of cinematography, it's just like everything's low light these, and I'm just like, why? But this one had less of that, and being just like, as a viewer, there wasn't any scenes where it was like, why have to go into military grade lockdown, turn off all the lights, shut the blinds to see the movie. And so, overall, I enjoyed it. I'll give it a B+, upper end of entertaining. Just the survival genre is interesting to me. So I enjoyed it. I thought Daniel Radcliffe did a good job as Josie Ginsberg. That was the only actor I recognized. But if you have not watched it, I recommend it. It's a good action-adventure drama survival story. So if you have not watched it and would like to, shut off the video, there will be spoiler alerts. So the movie opens up, you meet Josie Ginsberg. He's part of this backpacking community. He's going somewhere, they're in Bolivia. This is in 1981. And he's just going to go backpacking. And so he's on this boat. They're pulling away from the port, and it's a small boat. And there's another backpacker waving down the boat like, "Hey, wait for me, wait for me." So Josie meets his first kind of companion, Marcus. And so they're somewhere in Bolivia. They meet another dude named Kevin. And they're kind of like the three amigos doing some backpacking together. And so it kind of kicks off. They're somewhere in Bolivia, I believe. Josie does some, San Pedro, I believe. Just some sort of a psychedelic drug with some girl named Amy, super minor character. Or not Amy, Amie, maybe? I don't know. But regardless, she's a super minor role, but that's a scene. And then they meet Carl. And so Carl basically pitches to Josie that he wants to take him to this lost tribe of Amazon people. Kevin's a photographer. Josie's really excited about the thing. Kevin and Marcus all have dinner together discussing it. Kevin and Marcus just want to go home. Yossi's like, no, let's do this, let's do this. He kind of convinces Kevin first about the pictures, and then they meet with Carl the next day, and then they're all kind of, Yossi is sold, Kevin is sold, Marcus is kind of on the fence, and Carl is he says he's take him to the secret place, get some pictures, and he knows the jungle really well or something. And so, kind of semi-reluctantly, Marcus agrees. Now the group's all happy, and they're going to go into the jungle. So they head into the jungle the next day with Carl. It's supposed to be, a 3 to 6 day trip. So they have, just backpacking essentials and equipment. Carl does have a rifle and a machete, and then your basic survival equipment. And so they go in there the first night. Marcus thinks he's being attacked, and a moth has landed on him. And so he was just, the first couple scenes is like, obviously going into the movie, it's going to develop into a survival story, but the first couple scenes, the first couple of nights is like, them getting moss landing on them and thinking it's like a big deal. And so they're working, start walking to go the next day as well. And then kind of the first major development is Marcus's feet start having really bad sores or blisters or whatever. And so he can't walk or cannot keep up with the group. They kind of debate of what to do. Kevin wants to build a raft and go down by the river. Carl wants to stay on the land and just walk there. And then after a while, they all decide that we're going to go on the river. And so they build a raft. They build oars as well as poles to just help guide the raft. They get on there and they go down the river a little bit. And then the kind of a tense scene, a lot of people screaming at each other, but basically Kevin and Carl kind of get into it, and they pull the raft over to the side after going through some turbulence or some, what's it called for water? Whirlpools or whatever, just some white water rafting terminology. So they go over, they have, some back and forth. Carl wants to go hunting, and it's just a tense scene. And so, Yossi, well, even before this, Carl kind of accidentally loses them, and they have some dude with a yak is walking through, like a native Bolivian's walking through, and tells them to go this way, and they meet back up with Carl. So there was one scene before where he kind of leaves them, you're not really sure what's going on, but then they meet back up, and then they have the raft scene, and so they basically decide, because again, Marcus can't walk well, but Carl is really not into the raft, and Kevin kind of deduces that because Carl's so terrified because he probably can't swim. And so a couple of them want to walk and be out of there in 3 days. That's what Carl says, and he's like the leader. And Yossi wants to go with Carl, I believe. They kind of back and forth of who's going to go with who. But for whatever reason, it ends up that Yossi and Kevin ride down the river on the raft, and Marcus is the guy who can't walk, is going to be the guy who walks. And so that's what happened. Marcus and Carl just kind of walk off, and then from here on out, the storylines are pretty much Yossi and Kevin's lives. And so Marcus and Carl are now out of the picture. You get some update about them at the end of the movie. Now Yossi and Kevin get back on the raft, and then they start going down the river once again. They go a little too far. Before they split up, Carl gives them the overview of where they want to get off and where they want to meet this town of people, or where they can get safety or resources. And so they get back, and they kind of, Yossi's kind of laid back, chilling, and then they realize they're quickly approaching these rapids that they can't go through, and they have to pull over to this beach, and it's paddle really hard to get there, and then they miss the off ramp, and the raft kind of gets stuck on this rock in this big, pretty aggressive rapids. Kevin dives out, and he's going to go swim to shore as best he can, and then make some rope or some twine or some twig or leaves or something, make some thread, and pull Yossi to safety. So Kevin makes it to land safely, and then Yossi, the raft kind of breaks apart, and he just goes free falling down the river. And so from here on out, you pretty much have Yossi until, probably another 30, 40 minutes until you see Kevin again. But Yossi he tumbles through the water, he hits his head, develops an infection, but he's overall okay. But he climbs out of the water after an intense scene trying to swim out of these rapids. And so he's kind of like, he's sleeping, and then he hears like rattling, like a tin, like the metal hitting the rocks, and looks over the edge and see that when the raft broke, all the supplies were tied to it, that his survival bag was, coming along the river. So I thought it was a super unrealistic scene, because again, this is this big, it's super rocky, and these rapids are rushing everywhere. He sees the pack floating down the river, and he just launches into the river to grab it. It's almost certain that you would jar, or you would break, you would sever something doing that. But regardless, that's what he does. And he retrieves his survival needs. He's got like a pair of like tweezers, and this infection he has is like, he hit his head, but he's got some sort of infection, kind of cuts his own sore open. There's a parasitic worm in his head, so he pulls that out, drains the blood, and keeps moving. And so now he's got to try to, he kind of goes away from the river, but he's just trying to find Marcus, Kevin, or Carl. And so he finds some bird eggs, he eats them. Now I think first he finds a snake. It doesn't matter. But regardless, just a couple of the scenes he found. He climbs a tree to eat some pears, and there's a snake in the tree. And then he climbs back up there, after reciting. Before they split, Carl told Yossi he's a man of action, like encouraging him. So Yossi kind of hypes himself up and says the same thing to himself, pulls the snake out of the tree and kills it with a rock. And I guess when they were, on the first couple of nights when they were with Carl, before shit started to hit the fan, they had shot a monkey and ate monkey meat. And that was another scene as well. But regardless, now he's killed a snake, he's got a meal, and now he's just again trying to find society. And so he's walking through the forest, he sees another, couple, you get maybe this is day 6 maybe, and overall he's in there for like 21 days or something close to 3 weeks. But he finds these bird eggs, they're like undeveloped birds, and he ends up eating them. And then he goes walking, and then he finds footprints, and he's all excited because he thinks he's, found one of the other people, and then he sees the bird eggs again, and then he realizes he's just been walking in circles. So now he's definitely in like urgent survival mode. You have some flashback scenes where his father wanted him to go to law school, and he just wanted to take a year off to go traveling. And so you have some flashback scenes of him, just clearly in a state of dire survival, and just flashing back to like when he had safety. And so you have a couple more scenes like that going back and forth. Then probably about 15-20 minutes after that, you get an update on Kevin. He's kind of just like passed out on the river, close to the river, and some locals find him and take him back to safety. And so he alerts the authorities of Bolivia, and now they're going to go looking for him. They have a small plane, but you can't see down through the canopy, and all of the locals are just like, realistically, your friend's dead. And so they do a search. It's not too aggressive. Kevin is really trying to push them to do more, and then you catch back up with that later. So you go back to Yossi. He's starting to have, I think it was just a total apparition, like you didn't really see, but you meet another character called Kina. Doesn't really have a name, but it said Kina on the list. And so it looks like another native chick, because Yossi does end up finding like one of these towns or places where there was like huts or houses or civilization, and it had been destroyed. And so you meet this girl. It's not exactly clear to me if she was actually a real person or if it was just entirely an apparition. But regardless, again, he's super low on water and food, so you're playing some hallucination scenes. And so they kind of like hang out a little bit, she can't speak English, but he speaks Spanish in the movie, so I'm gonna wait and try to speak Spanish to her. But regardless, it shows them like a couple nights together, again, just like surviving together, not doing anything physical. But then he wakes up and it's just like him patting the ground. So to me, I think the Kina character was just a total apparition. She wasn't really there, and he's just kind of hallucinating from being without resources for so long. And so back on just this somewhere in Bolivia, Kevin meets up with a local. Again, he's talking to the police authorities, and the police is like, I can refer you to somebody. And so I didn't get his name, but another local who has this boat. And he's just like, your friend's dead, there's no chance, I'm not going to help you look for him. And Kevin's like, how much for the boat? I'll buy your boat. and then again another just little like log, not like a super big boat or anything. And so like a river boat from any Amazon tribe or whatever. And so regardless, the guy ends up either agreeing or just giving him the boat because the two of them go after, and they go out there to look for Yossi. And so they're driving by, and Yossi is extremely frail now. He's kind of just sleeping, fading in and out of consciousness. And right as Kevin and the local are turning around to give up on the search, Yossi hears the boat, stands up, and then as they're like turning the corner, again, he's not sure as to if he's just completely exhausted, that's why he doesn't scream out. But regardless, Kevin sees him again as they're turning the bend, and they're extremely excited now. Turns the boat around, comes back, emotional embrace, gets back on the boat, goes back to the village. All the locals are shocked that he's still alive. And then the resolution to the movie is you get some facts about the actual event. So again, sometime in 1981 in Bolivia, Yossi and Kevin survived. You don't hear in the movie and in real life. You don't hear. They said Marcus and Carl were never seen or heard from again. So obviously they didn't make it. And then it says Carl was not even like he was wanted by authorities, and that he was there was no hidden Amazon tribe, and there was no real motive as to why he did what he did in terms of taking these three adventurers into the jungle. And then you have some pictures as well of them after they were rescued, just how frail they are. Which actually in the movie it looked a lot grittier than in the real life pictures. They look skinny, but like not like 17 days in the jungle without any resources skinny to me. But regardless, you get some updates like they're still doing. I think Kevin ends up living in Israel. Yossi ends up living back on the river and building a foundation or something. And you just get some final facts about the incident. So overall, again, anything with a historical backing to it, even if I have no idea about the story, it's always intriguing to watch it on in a movie presentation. Overall, I was thoroughly entertained. I thought that the cinematography was good. I thought the intensity and tone for a survival movie was well done. Upper end of entertaining overall. So B+, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one if there is one.